The night my husband introduced his new wife to the family, I nearly dropped the glass in my hand because the woman standing next to him, wearing my grandmother's necklace, smiling like she had won everything, was my own sister. They didn't even try to hide it anymore. 3 months earlier, my husband had filed for divorce out of nowhere. 2 months later, my parents suddenly told me the family house, the one my grandmother left to me, had been legally transferred. To my sister, my husband, my sister, my parents, all smiling at me like I was the idiot who deserved it. They thought they had ruined my life. They thought I was too broken to fight back. What they didn't know was that every signature they forced me to make, every lie they told in court, only made the trap tighter. And the night they celebrated stealing everything from me was the same night I destroyed them. Part 1. Approximately 3,000 characters. Growing up. Oh, my sister Lily was always the golden child. She was prettier, funnier, more charming. At least that's what my parents always said. If Lily broke something, it was an accident. If I made the same mistake, I was irresponsible. If Lily needed money, my parents called it support. If I asked for help, they told me to learn independence. So I learned early that the only person I could truly rely on was myself. By the time I turned 27, I had built a stable life without their help. I owned a small design company that was finally turning a profit, and I had been married to Daniel for 4 years. Daniel was charming, confident, and supportive. Or at least, that's what I believed. We had a beautiful home, most of it funded by the inheritance my grandmother left me before she passed away. Grandma was the only person in my family who truly loved me before she died. She made it very clear that the house and most of her savings would go directly to me, not to my parents, not to Lily, just me. I remember the day the lawyer read the will. My parents forced polite smiles. Lily didn't even try to hide her anger. But after a few months, everything seemed to calm down. Or at least, I thought it had. Looking back now, I realized that was when the real plan started. It began with small things. Daniel suddenly working late more often. Lily visiting our house more frequently, claiming she wanted to reconnect. At first, I was happy about it. I thought maybe my family was finally trying to repair our relationship. I was wrong. One night, about a year later, I came home earlier than usual, and the moment I opened the front door, I heard laughter upstairs. Daniel's voice, and Lily's. My stomach twisted, but I told myself I was overthinking, until I opened the bedroom door, and saw them together, in my bed. For a moment, none of us moved. Lily didn't even look ashamed. She just slowly sat up, pulled the blanket around herself, and gave me a small smile. Daniel sighed like he had been waiting for this moment. Then he said something that still echoes in my head. Honestly, this makes things easier. Easier, as if destroying my marriage was some kind of convenience. I expected anger, apologies, panic. Instead, Lily laughed. So then she said something that made my blood run cold. You were never meant to have all that money anyway. And that was the moment I realized. This wasn't just an affair. It was something much worse. Something they had been planning for a long time. And I had just walked straight into it. After I caught them, everything moved shockingly fast. Daniel filed for divorce the very next week. Not just divorce. He demanded half of everything. The house, my savings, even part of my business. But that wasn't the worst part. A few days later, my parents called me to their house for what they called a family discussion. I should have known better. When I arrived, Lily and Daniel were already there, sitting comfortably on the couch like they belonged together. My mother looked at me with that same disappointed expression she'd used my entire life. You need to stop being dramatic, she said. Then, my father slid a stack of documents across the table. Apparently, months earlier, Daniel had convinced me to simplify our finances. He'd asked me to sign some property management paperwork while I was busy preparing for a big project at work. I trusted him. I didn't even read it carefully. Those documents had quietly transferred control of my inherited house. into a joint marital asset, which meant during the divorce, Daniel could legally claim half. And because Lily had loaned him money for renovations, she was now listed as a financial stakeholder in the property. It was disgusting. A perfect little legal trap. Daniel would get half the house, and Lily would conveniently buy his share. My grandmother's home would end up exactly where they wanted it, with her. When the divorce finalized 3 months later, that's exactly what happened. Daniel walked away with a huge settlement. And Lily bought his half of the house immediately, just like that. The home my grandmother built was no longer mine. The worst part? My parents attended Lily and Daniel's wedding 6 months later. Of course they did. And they invited me. I almost didn't go. But in the end, I decided I wouldn't miss it for the world, because by that time, something had changed. You see, when I first discovered what they did, I cried for days. But after the shock faded, I started reading. Every contract, every document, every signature, line by line, and that's when I found the one thing Daniel had overlooked. The house itself might have become a marital asset, but the land underneath it never had. My grandmother had placed the land into a separate trust years before she died. A trust that named only one person as the permanent owner. Me. Whom Daniel could sell his half of the house. Lily could celebrate her big victory. But legally, the structure sitting on that land didn't belong there anymore. And that's why, on the night of their wedding reception, I calmly walked into the hall, carrying a single envelope. The music stopped when I tapped the glass. Everyone turned to look at me. Lily's smile froze. Daniel looked confused. Then I handed the envelope to Lily. Inside was a court order, or a demolition notice, and a legal eviction filed against both of them, because the house they thought they stole from me was sitting on my land, and according to the judge's ruling, they had exactly 60 days to remove it, or lose everything. For the first time in my life, my sister looked terrified. My parents started shouting. Daniel kept repeating, "That's not possible." But it was. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just smiled. The same calm smile Lily had given me the day I caught her in my bed. Then I said the only thing they deserved to hear. Enjoy the house while you can. Because after 60 days, it wouldn't exist anymore.